That is a place where frontal bone joined with both parietal, sutura coronalis. Here it is sutura sagittalis, in place where right and left parietal bones join together, and sutura lambdoidea, that is place where occipital bone joined with both parietal and temporal, sutura lambdoidea. Then, where is the border between roof and base of the skull? Anteriorly, that is place where frontal bone joined with nasal bones. Here it is. Then border continues into margo, help me, supra orbitalis. Then in zygomatic process of frontal bone. Then it passes in this crest, that is crista infra, who remember, temporalis, in greater wing of sphenoid bone. Then here it is border between roof and base pass in at the zygomatic arch. It forms with the help of zygomatic process of maxilla, lower border of zygomatic bone, and zygomatic process of temporal bone. Next, border continues above of porus acousticus externus. Then at the base of mastate process of temporal bone, continues in the region of linea nucha superior and protuberantia occipitalis externa. And here it is the same. Clear? That is the border between roof, calvaria, and base of the skull. Now, base of the skull, we speak about internal base and external base of the skull. Internal base of the skull consists of three cranial fossa: fossa cranii anterior, fossa cranii media, and fossa cranii posterior. Fossa cranii anterior, border between this fossa and fossa cranii media, that is lesser veins of sphenoid bone, ala minor of sphenoid bone. What we can see in anterior cranial fossa, this and this part, they are what? What is it? Pars orbitalis of frontal bone. Here it is, pars orbitalis of frontal bone. In center, that is lamina cribrosa of ethmoid bone, together with crista galli. Anteriorly, that is crista frontalis, and between crista frontalis and crista galli in whole skull, we have blind opening, that is foramen cecum, that is foramen cecum in Latin, in English foramen cecum, that is a blind opening, that is place where dura mater attach. Next, medial cranial fossa. In central part, that is sella turcic saddle. Posteriorly, that is dorsum sella. Anteriorly, that is sulcus prechiasmatis. This canal is optic canal. Here it is fissura orbitalis superior, foramen rotundum, foramen ovale, and foramen spinosum. And new opening for you, that is foramen lacerum. This opening is in place where body of sphenoid bone joined with pyramid of temporal bone, foramen lacerum. Here it is. And sulcus caroticus laterally from turcic saddle, sulcus caroticus here and here. The same in medial cranial fossa, we can see eminentia arcuata, sulcus nervi petrosi majoris and sulcus nervi petrosi minoris. The same hiatus canalis nervi petrosi majoris and hiatus canalis nervi petrosi minoris. That is medial cranial fossa. And now posterior cranial fossa, and border between medial and posterior cranial fossa along of superior border of pyramid. And here it is, you should remember, sulcus sinus petrosi superior. And this is sulcus sinus petrosi inferior. Inferior petrosal sinus here, superior petrosal sinus here. porus and meatus acousticus internus. This is jugular foramen, foramen jugulare. It is foramen magnum and canalis nervi hypoglossi, hypoglossal canals. This is groove of sigmoid sinus, sulcus sinus sigmoidei, groove of transverse sinus, sulcus sinus transversi, sulcus sinus sagittalis superior, and crista accipitalis interna. This is protuberantia accipitalis interna and eminentia cruciformis. I think that most of these structures you already know. New information for you, that is only foramen secum, foramen lacerum, and maybe jugular foramen, foramen jugulare. All another structures you already know in internal base of the skull. Now, external base. External base of the skull, the same, subdivides into three departments: anterior, middle, and posterior. Anterior and middle department, border between them, that is openings here and here, they are choane, or posterior border of hard palate, that is lamina, posterior border of lamina horizontalis of palatine bone, that is a border between anterior and middle department. In anterior department we can see arcus alveolaris. It consists of alveolar process of right and left maxilla. It is hard palate, sutura mediana. It is sutura transversa. This is foramen and canalis incisivus, behind of incisors. Canalis incisivus. This is in whole skull, that is canalis palatinus major. Today you answer sulcus palatinus major, but after palatine bone attached to this groove, in whole skull we receive canal, canalis palatinus major, and that is all. Now, medial department of external base of the skull. It is pterygate process of sphenoid bone, consists of lamina medialis and lamina lateralis. This canal is canalis pterygoideus. This is foramen lacerum, foramen ovale, foramen spinosum, and this is pars basilaris of occipital bone, and it has tuberculum pharyngeum. And the same we can see carotid canal, canalis caroticus. It has apertura externa and apertura interna. Apertura interna, here it is. And between them, carotid canal, canalis caroticus. And now, posterior part of external base of the skull and border between middle and posterior part, that is anterior border of foramen magnum. And in posterior part of external base of the skull, first of all, that is foramen magnum, jugular foramen, processus styloideus and mastoideus, between them stylomastoid foramen, incisura mastoidea, sulcus arteria accipitalis, foramen mastoideum, condyles, condylus accipitalis, canalis nervi hypoglossi. It is fossa candilaris and sometimes maybe canalis candilaris. It is crista accipitalis externa. Next, three fossa on external surface of the skull. This is temporal fossa, fossa temporalis. It is fossa infratemporalis. If you remember what is the name of this surface, facies infratemporalis, and this surface looks in fossa infratemporalis. And smallest fossa, that is space between maxilla anteriorly and pterygate process posteriorly, and this space, that is pterygopalatine fossa. Why it is pterygopalatine fossa? Because medial wall, now I attach with my stick in lamina perpendicularis of palatine bone. Clear, that is why pterygopalatine fossa. That is why posterior wall of this fossa is pterygate process, anterior wall that is maxilla, and medial wall that is lamina perpendicularis of palatine bone. And this pterygopalatine fossa, it has 2 fissura, 2 foramen, and 2 canals. For example, this canal, who remember? What is this canal? Canalis pterygoidus, pterygate canal. It goes into pterygopalatine fossa. Canalis pterygoidus. Maybe we have another base of the skull, no? Only this? Okay. Canalis pterygoidus opens into this fossa. Then Canalis palatinus major, it also opens into fossa pterygopalatina. Next, who can answer? What is this opening? What is this opening? Today we speak about notch. This is incisura sphenopalatine, but in whole skull we speak about foramen sphenopalatine. Foramen sphenopalatine, this is between fossa pterygopalatina and nasal cavity. And another opening, that is foramen rotundum. Foramen rotundum, if it is clear for you, that is maybe here. That is, you can see that my stick from internal base of the skull opens into pterygopalatine fossa. Is it clear? It also opens into this pterygopalatine fossa. 2 foramen, foramen sphenopalatine and foramen rotundum, and 2 fissura. This fissura, this is fissura orbitalis inferior, that is fissura orbitalis inferior, and enter, if you want to come from infratemporal fossa into pterygopalatine fossa, this space between maxilla and pterygate process, that is fissura pterygomaxillaris, that is enter into this fossa. Fissura pterygomaxillaris and fissura orbitalis inferior. Fissura orbitalis inferior, in anterior part, it opens into infratemporal fossa, and posteriorly, it opens into pterygopalatine fossa. And next, orbita and nasal cavity. Orbita, it consists of, it has 4 walls, and enter into the orbita, that is additus orbitae. Superior wall forms with the help of, that is pars orbitalis of frontal bone, and superior wall, the same forms with the help of lesser wings of sphenoid bone, ala minor of sphenoid bone, and pars orbitalis of frontal bone. That is superior wall. Now, inferior wall. Inferior wall, that is facies orbitalis of maxilla, small part of facies orbitalis of zygomatic bone, and posteriorly small part of processus orbitalis of palatine bone. Lateral wall, that is facies orbitalis of zygomatic bone, and this is facies orbitalis of, that is greater wings ala minor of sphenoid bone. And last, medial wall. Medially we can see this is processus frontalis of maxilla. Then behind we can see lacrimal bone. Behind of lacrimal bone, that is lamina orbitalis of ethmoid bone, and posteriorly small part of that is body of sphenoid bone. This is part of sphenoid bone, body of sphenoid bone on medial wall. In orbita we have what opens into the orbita. Canalis opticus, optic canal, then fissura orbitalis superior, here it is fissura orbitalis inferior. From this place, canalis nasolacrimalis. In maxilla we have sulcus lacrimalis, but when concha nasalis inferior attached to this crest, we receive canal between maxilla and concha nasalis inferior. And name of this canal is canalis nasolacrimalis. And canalis nasolacrimalis, that is communication between orbiter and nasal cavity. Canalis nasolacrimalis. The same should be openings above of lamina orbitalis, between lamina orbitalis and frontal bone. Should be this and these openings, foramen et maedale anterior and foramen et maedale posterior. These two openings, the same way opens into the orbiter. And last, this is sulcus infraorbitalis, continues into the canal, and canal opens with the help of foramen infraorbitale. It should be here. That is sulcus infraorbitalis, canalis, and foramen infraorbitale. All openings in orbiter you should know. And last, nasal cavity. Nasal cavity, cavitas nasi. Nasal cavity has 5 walls. Medial wall, that is septum nasi. Septum nasi, that is medial wall. Hard palate, that is inferior wall. Here it is superior. Lateral wall, and posteriorly we have opening here and here. They are choana, and posteriorly small part of the body of sphenoid bone. Small part, that is body of sphenoid bone and choana. And enter into nasal cavity, that is piriform foramen. Apertura piriformis nasi. Apertura piriformis nasi. Some words about walls. Medial wall, that is septum nasi. It consists of vomer posteriorly. Anteriorly, that is lamina, what is it? Perpendicularis of ethmoid bone. The same, it forms with the help of crista and spina nasalis of frontal bone and crista sphenoidalis, all of them in medial wall. Now, inferior wall of nasal cavity, that is hard palate, consists of palatine process of maxilla and lamina horizontalis of palatine bone. Superior wall, here it is nasal bone, frontal bone, lamina cribrosa of ethmoid bone, the same superior wall of nasal cavity, and posteriorly, that is body of sphenoid bone. And last, lateral wall. Lateral wall, that is frontal process, look here, frontal process and facies nasalis of maxilla. The same lateral wall has concha nasalis inferior. Lateral wall forms with the help of labyrinths of ethmoid bone together with medial and superior concha. The same in lateral wall we have lamina perpendicularis of palatine bone, and posteriorly lamina medialis of pterygate process of sphenoid bone. Lacrimal bone, os lacrimalis, the same, participate in lateral wall of nasal cavity. And last, give me a piece of paper or copybook. Copybook, maybe. No? You have not piece of paper? Please. Can I draw here? Okay, that is nasal cavity. This is superior wall. Here it is crista galli, that is lamina cribrosa, that is labyrinth of ethmoid bone. Here it is septum nasi, that is concha nasalis superior, concha nasalis, help me, media, and this is concha nasalis inferior. Oh, here it is the same. Superior concha, middle concha, and concha nasalis inferior. And now, space between superior concha and concha nasalis media, this space in nasal cavity has name meatus nasi superior, superior nasal meatus. Then space between middle concha and inferior concha, that is meatus nasi medius. And space between inferior concha and inferior wall of the nasal cavity, that is meatus nasi inferior. And this is common nasal meatus, that is space between septum nasi and concha, that is common nasal meatus, meatus nasi communis. And superior nasal meatus, here it is, in superior nasal meatus, opens foramen sphenopallatinum. Look here, one again. This is foramen sphenopallatinum, and this foramen opens into superior nasal meatus. It is in space between superior concha and middle concha. Foramen sphenopallatinum. What else? The same sinus sphenoidalis, sphenoidal sinus, the same, opens into superior nasal meatus, and posterior cells of ethmoid bone. Look here, that is ethmoid bone, and posterior cells, cellula ethmoidalis posterior, the same opens into superior nasal meatus. Cellula ethmoidalis posterior cells opens into superior nasal meatus. Now, what opens into middle nasal meatus? Here it is largest sinuses. What is the largest sinus? Sinus maxillaris, another large sinus, that is sinus frontalis, frontal sinus, sinus frontalis, and anterior and medial cells of ethmoid bone. Anterior and medial cells opens into middle nasal meatus. Cellula ethmoidalis, anterior and midi. And inferior nasal meatus, here it is only canal. Canalis, naso, lacrimalis. Only one canal opens into inferior nasal meatus. You should know names of walls of nasal cavity, and you should answer what opens into these three nasal meatus, superior, middle, and inferior. Give me your textbook now. Thank you. Skull as a whole, skull cap and base. That is anterior-palatine fossa, infratemporal fossa, orbit, and nasal cavity. Superior nasal meatus, medial nasal meatus, common, inferior. That is till page 53 from 47. That is on Friday. Skull as a whole, that is